podcasts are sponsored by KaiNexus, where we're passionate about empowering people to spread continuous improvement with our web-based software. Learn more at www.spreadimprovement.com.
Hi, this is Mark Raven. Welcome to episode 95 of Lean Blog Audio. It is September 21st, 2015, and this episode is titled 5S, The Good, the Bad, and the Extreme in Japanese Hospitals. Now, my two previous trips to Japan have been incredible experiences, both personally and professionally. I'm planning on going back in December with a tour group I'm helping organize with Kaizen Institute, and if you'd like to learn more about that, go to www.japanleantrip.com. When people go to Japan, I think they're expecting to see perfect lean practices. But no, lean culture is not the same as typical Japanese business culture. My friend Katie Anderson, a lean healthcare specialist who's now living in Japan, wrote a great post about this for the Lean Enterprise Institute. And you can find a link to that by going to my site at leanblog.org/audio95. So she had 5 key reflections, and one of them, and I've seen the same thing in Japan, is lean isn't inherently Japanese. Again, as Katie writes, it's not easy for the Japanese, just as it isn't easy in other cultures. Lean really is a blend of Western and Japanese cultures and practices, as it was from the beginning when Kiichiro Toyota came to the U.S. to learn about automotive and management principles and brought them back to Japan. In many ways, some aspects we consider foundational to lean thinking, such as developing people as problem solvers, leader as teacher, are counter to Japanese traditional business practices. Toyota and other lean thinking companies are unique in Japan, as are organizations in the West who practice deep lean thinking. The Toyota production system in some ways is a countermeasure for a command and control authoritarian leadership style, a culture of rigid rule following, and a fear of failure. On the other hand, some principles and habits may be easier in the Japanese culture. Kata, or routines, are common in everyday life, from pouring tea to exchanging business cards to the sport of sumo. Traits as adherence to standard work and diligence to constantly improve one's job may be easier due to the culture of compliance and seeking perfection. That's the end of the quote from Katie's piece. I love her description of TPS as a countermeasure to some typical Japanese business culture concepts. As I've written about on my blog, I think the andon cord was a specific countermeasure against the challenges of speaking up in the workplace. The andon cord didn't come naturally, not even at Toyota. Now, I've visited 5 different Japanese hospitals across 2 visits. There's one hospital I've been to twice. They're all practicing an evolution of total quality management. Many have been doing so for 15 or 20 years. Quality circles are alive and well in Japan, as I've blogged about. And TQM often creates a great foundation for what we would recognize as lean practices or lean daily management practices. TQM in these organizations has had top executive support and participation. There's a strong focus on quality and the customer, and employees are expected to participate. But the shift from formal 6-month projects, these quality circles, to daily lean practices is not necessarily easy or natural. One artifact of lean thinking or a basic lean practice is 5S. Now, did I see 5S or visual management everywhere I looked in hospitals? Well, no, it doesn't come naturally. Or so it seems. People in the US or other countries, I'm sure, make excuses or give up too easily on lean, saying things like, well, this would be easy if we were Japanese. And no, I don't think that's true. So I think people can quit hiding behind that excuse. In the post, and here's a challenge with the blog post. It has lots of pictures. I'm going to have to, again, just invite you to go to leanblog.org/audio95. I show a picture of a cabinet from a surgery department outside of operating rooms. It doesn't look very organized or 5S. Now, I realize sometimes the most thoughtful 5S activity doesn't look very impressive. Putting tape outlines or labels on shelves for everything might look noticeably 5S-ish, but the real benefit often comes from just putting items near the point of use, making them easy to find, reducing walking and motion time, etc. Even in that cabinet, if you take a closer look, though, things are just sort of jammed and piled in there. Our hosts admitted they still had not made much progress on 5S in that area. And that cabinet in that hospital were not really an isolated case. Now, in some hospitals in some areas, you could see the 5S progress. They had before and after pictures to show. You could see the CEO doing 5S audits. So yeah, there are some good examples of 5S, and people will explain the process they went through and the progress they made. One hospital had made small bags, sort of like fanny packs, it was really more on their hip, that kept the most commonly and frequently used supplies right on the nurse's person, saving them time and motion. That makes the work easier for nurses. There's also an example and a picture of how they organized power strips. Now, I know when I store power cords and strips at home, if they're just piled in a box, they become a tangly mess. But not here with 5S. And then there are some examples that would make 5S advocates drool. The organization, the precision, the visual management of some drawers, like this crash cart cabinet, and it's again pictured in the post. There are foam cutouts that make sure you can't pile too many unnecessary medications into a segment of the drawer. 5S helps make sure there's the right amount in the right place at the right time. Having too much doesn't help if you're then having to dig through a cluttered drawer. And at one hospital, they even took that level of precision and detail to a desk drawer in the nurse's station. Now, the question I would ask, again, respectfully, is if that's helping prevent a problem, or are they taking 5S practices too far, or are they building discipline within the workplace? Now, when you see good 5S in the Japanese hospitals, again, it appears not to be the norm. It's not natural. It's not easy. It's something they've had to work at. It requires leadership, and I think that's a valuable lesson to take home from Japan, and I think it's worth seeing with your own eyes. The benefit of a trip like this is not just about seeing good 5S or a lack thereof. It's about seeing and learning about Japanese culture and how it sometimes helps with lean and sometimes gets in the way. The tour also is a shared experience, learning from the other great practices from Japanese hospitals and businesses and comparing notes with a global group of visitors, learning from each other and learning from people in Japan. I think, again, it's a great experience on many levels. So to learn more about the tour, go to www.japanleantrip.com. If you'd like to see the pictures or post a comment on the post to be part of the discussion, go to leanblog.org/audio95. Thanks for listening.